Good morning, everyone. So let's start the session. I hope audio has been clear to everyone.
Yes.
Yes, good day, everyone. So let me share my screen. So good morning, everyone. So once again, welcome to AZ800 technical event. My name is Robin, and I'll be delivering this session. So yesterday we had a discussion about understanding this course, and so we discussed about the expectations. We had a discussion on understanding each other. So yesterday we came to know Microsoft is released a set of training events on a different Azure topics. Now AZ800 and AZ801. These are the two programs Microsoft has been focusing for hybrid infrastructure. Because if you take any of the infrastructure right now, it's been available in your organization. We have a three type of infrastructure currently it's been available. So all of us is already know. One, it's been like on-prem. What do you mean by on-prem? The servers currently it's been hosted in your on premises, or it's been hosted uh, or it's been owned by yourself, or the capex cost is been owned by you. That's generally known as a on-prem one. Then the last AZ104 batch, we came to know the difference between collocation also. It's been like a collocation and on-premises two type of the infrastructure. We had a discussion. Now, after that, we had a discussion on how this can be moved into a cloud infrastructure. Generally, the term, technical term, we used to use in a cloud infrastructure that is known as lift and shift, or it's called rehosting. Now, we understood this. If you're taking any of this infrastructure on-prem, or it's been a collocation or a cloud, we are going to use some kind of a hybrid mode. What do you mean by hybrid mode? Few resources may be hosted on the Microsoft Azure side, and a couple of resources still it's been owned by in the on-premises or a collocation one. And you may have need all the kind of a connectivity also. So during this event, we are trying to understand how this hybrid computing or hybrid cloud infrastructure can be configured on a Azure side. What are the possibilities we have, and what are the tools we are using, and what are the services we are using. So this is the topic currently we are trying to consider. Now, yesterday we had a discussion on the first topic which we are going to cover today. It's the compute. So the first topic we are trying to cover today, it's about Microsoft Compute one. So yesterday we have seen like how to create a free account, and I given an instruction on how to use a operating system, or how to do this lab it on your laptop also. Now, whether if you're taking a on-premises, or if you take a on collocation or a cloud, compute or virtual machine is one of the commonly used resource in this infrastructure. Because if you take a on-premises one, obviously you will have a servers or you will have a workstations. When you move to cloud, you may be using a Azure VMs, right? So because whenever you want to use any applications, or if you want to use or save any kind of a data, it's most probably you will be using a Azure VMs only. Now let's try to understand how this can be managed, and let's try to understand how this can be uh, configure all kind of a permissions on an Azure side. Now, if you take any on-premises one, right now we understood there are three type of infrastructure currently it's been available with us. One, it's been on-premises one. If you take on-premises one, in a normal scenario, we will be taking a vendor box that's called a Dell or HP or a, IBM, or it's been PowerEdge or a Cisco UCS. We'll be using a physical servers. On top of that, there are two ways we use to install the operating system. One, it's been directly you'll be installing on top of the hardware, and on top of the operating system, we use to install the applications. This is the one mode of installation. Or in the on-premises one, you may be using a technology called virtualization. That's called hypervisor, right? So all of us know there is a hypervisor can be used. So you'll be used hypervisor. On top of that, you'll be installing OS. On top of that, your applications will be installed. So this is the normal method, or this is a normally this is the mode of operation currently we were doing in a on-premises scenario. Now, when it is coming on a cloud side, so if you use a cloud, how these servers are hosted? That's the first question. Any idea, anyone? Can you just post it on the chat window? How the servers are hosted on the cloud side? If you can comment it on the chat window, that will be well and good. So through the instance, okay, inside the VM, using a VPN gateway, it is installed on the DC, okay. So by VM, okay. Azure VM, okay. So all of us are agreeing with that point. When you are moving or when you are connecting to on a Microsoft Azure, or at least we are in a confidence saying that all these servers are hosted in a Microsoft data center, right? Right? That all are agree, right? So if you want to use a Microsoft Cloud, we are using a mode of renting a resource, right? It's called instead of purchasing. We understood in a cloud scenarios, we are using a concept of renting a resource, similar like your Uber, or similar like your Netflix, or similar like your Amazon Prime. Instead of purchasing a resource, because if you want to use any of the servers in an on-premises one, you already aware that we need have to purchase this box, right? It's called a capex is been involved. Whether you use it or not use it, it doesn't matter, because in case if you want to use any servers on a on-premises one, it's mandatory that you need to purchase a server. Now, when it is coming on a cloud side, instead of purchasing a server, we are renting a resource from the cloud service provider. How this has been hosted? Capex is not belongs to Microsoft, Sandesh. This is a it's a finance terminology. This has been applicable in all the cloud service provider. It's not that only uh, available on a Microsoft. No, Capex and OPEX. These are the two terminologies generally we are using. So as Robert and it's been proven to it's mentioned, this is generally known as a capital expenditure. The amount Sandesh has been spending for purchasing an asset in your organization. For example, like if you want to purchase a router, or if you want to purchase a switch, or if you want to purchase a hardware, or if you want to purchase a server, or the investment which you are doing on during the starting, or we can say like it's a capital cost, the investment which you are doing, that has been considered as a capex cost. Operational cost is generally coming, you may need a license for operating this one, right? Like a license, or it's been like the current bill or the electricity bill, or the resource cost, the amount you are spending for operating that particular infrastructure, that is being considered as a operating expenditure. Now, yes, agree with your point, Sandesh. Basically, in a cloud, capex cost it's been done by the CSPs. It can be Microsoft, or it can be AWS, or it can be GCP also, or any vendor who has been providing the solution to you. They are investing the capex cost. As a user, or we are paying the amount based on the consumption. Sandesh, you may be agreeing with a point. Like all of us are using a concept called Uber, right, for a taxi service. Now you compare with your car and the Uber, right? Uber, like you you are booking using an app based on your consumption, based on the kilometer you travel. We are paying an operational cost for that, right? Similar for here also. You are connecting with a cloud service provider using a different management tool, and based on the consumption, for example, like Sandesh, if you use a VM um, for 1 hour, so you will be paying the money for 1 hour instead of paying the capex cost for that server. So this is the way it's been working. So technically, capex and opex, these are the two terms generally we are using in a cloud infrastructure side. Any questions on that? Any other anyone else it's having the any question related to that? Let's have a discussion. Otherwise, we'll be moving to the next part. OPEX is called operational expenditure. That's Robert is already pasted on the chat. Pravas is the meaning is operational expenditure. I just pasted on the chat window. Now we were discussing about how on-premises is working, and we have seen like how cloud is been working. Now all of us here is been agreed. If you're using a cloud, all these cloud service providers also using a data centers, right? So this cloud service providers also will have a DC, that's called data centers. Now in the Microsoft Azure side, whatever data center is generally, it's been using generally not with a term called regions. Now, whenever you are creating any resource on a Microsoft Azure side, this has been created. It's mandatory that we need to mention which data center or which region this has been created. So because Microsoft is having almost 140 plus countries, they're having a presence on data center. So whenever you are creating any resource, it's mandatory that we need to mention which data center this has been created. So region is an important term. Now on premises one, physically this was present here, but here it's been virtually you are creating on a Microsoft side. Now today we are trying to discuss about a first resource on a Microsoft side, that's called compute. It's called a compute. That's called the window in a normal one. In a normal on-premises one, we were using a server. So the same virtualization technology is being coming on a Microsoft side. That's called compute. So let's try to understand what are the operating system currently it's been available and how this can be created also. Let me share my presentation. Let me go back to the PPT. Just give me a second. So before moving to this DHCP or Active Directory, no, Prabhat, I was uploading the video presentation. That's the reason it's got uh, audio's got disconnected. Now I hope you can see my presentation. Uh, Everyone, can you just confirm? I hope you can see the presentations. Okay. Now, before moving to the DHCP or a DNS, let's try to understand the compute first. Then we'll move into the Active Directory or a DHCP. Because as per the course, directly this has been entering to Active Directory. That may confuse you because I have a most of the members are first time it's be using Azure here. So that's the reason I just thought of starting from a scratch. So that will help you to understand, or that will help you to configure all the services in a proper way rather than making any mistake on the cloud side. Now, right now, I'm just trying to cover two cases here. The first case study, it's been like all of us here, it's been working for a medical firm. Now, you already working as a system administrator and you have a n number of servers is been hosted in your infrastructure. Now, your boss came and told, hey, Ruiz, my servers are getting aged. So we need to make some kind of a modifications here because I want to use artificial intelligence, or I need to use machine learning or automations options. So my boss told, hey, Robin, you go and update my servers. So we are trying to understand how this can be upgraded into the next version of the cloud, because right now we are working for a medical research company and all the servers currently it's been using or it's been facing some kind of a technology refreshment. So we are trying to understand how this has been possible in a cloud scenarios. Second, we are trying to understand, it's been like my organization has been scattered all around the world. I have office in Canada, I have office in Nepal, I have office in Sri Lanka, India, and I have office in Indonesia and Philippines. So it's been very difficult for me to manage this servers because it's been scattered. So I may have to send Santosh into Sri Lanka, or I may have to send Robin to Canada. So I may have to give on-site opportunities to everyone. So now my boss told, hey Robin, we need to control this. So we need some kind of a solution where I can centralize, I can able to manage, because I don't want to uh, keep my servers scattered across the globe. I need to manage, I need some kind of a solution which allows me to manage using it from a single portal. I don't want to keep all the resources in a different locations. I want everything to be managed in a centralized. So we are trying to understand these two scenarios. First, we'll try to understand how this VM can be managed on Azure side, and then we'll be moving to DHCP and DNS and Active Directory part. Because first of all, if you want to use all these service, we need a VM, right? So we are trying to understand one. So all of us know already, or already you are studied during your AZ900 or a 104 exam, based on the cloud responsibility, based on the scope we are doing on in a data center stack, like where the user is having a permission, where the cloud service provider is having a permission. Based on that, uh, classification is done in a classification is being done in as a ISA, SPAS, and um, ISA, SPAS, and SAS. Can you comment what is the difference between all these three? Do you have any knowledge on this part? Can you just comment it on the chat window? Anyone? It's an infrastructure. Okay, we have a three type of cloud services. Okay, good. So I request everyone to just comment it on the chat window. So what's your understanding about IaaS and platform as a service and IaaS? Yes, Mark, it's one. Okay. So I think most of the members has been commented on the chat. It's been like based on how it's been working or where your scope is been coming. So based on that, there is a different type of the service model NASD has been defined. You maybe heard about a term called NAFT, right? So NASD is defined based on the conception or it's based on how this has been working. It's based on that. This classification is being done on the on the service models. So you have a one second. Yeah. So we have a three type of a service model is been available. One is called ISAS, PaaS, and SaaS models. And based on how this is being deployed, you already may be aware that this has been classified as a hybrid and public cloud and a private cloud also. Now, if you're reviewing this cloud service responsibility, if you're taking a data center stack, where is the user interaction is been coming? It's based on that this classification is done. Now, when you're considering about a VM or a compute device, this is being considered under the ISaaS platform. So that's called infrastructure as a service. So the VM or the compute or the hybrid compute model which you're going to use is being considered under the ISaaS category. So NIST, the organization, is given this classification for what is a ISaaS or a PaaS or a SaaS one. Yes. In a answer is saying like in a PaaS case, partially the vendor is and subscriber. Yes, it's basically like as a user, I don't need to worry anything about the hardware management. Everything it's been managed by the vendor. Because if I'm a developer, I don't need to worry like how the OS is been doing or how the patching is being done on the OS side, or this has been taken care in the past cases. Example, it's been like in a Azure case, Azure Bastion service is an example for past service. SaaS is something like right now we are using a Teams, right? Or you are using a Google Drive or a Gmail Drive you're using, or you may be using a WebEx, or you may be using a lot of SaaS application like Amazon Prime or a Netflix or even Office 365. What is the purpose of that? Each application is being designed for a particular purpose, right? If you're taking a Teams, the purpose is being a communication part. We are not worrying what is the background, what is the technology is being used. Is there any technology refreshment is happening on the backend? We don't know any information because everything is been managed by the cloud provider itself. Now, similar way, in an ISaaS case, we are getting a responsibility or we are getting a access from the operating system onwards. Now, if you're seeing here, from this point onwards, the management is being done by us. So here, so from here onwards, the management is been handled by us. It's called the operating system once it's been handled by us. Now, Azure VM case or Azure Compute case, there are n number of service Microsoft is been provided to us, like which includes a virtual machine scale set, or a batch, or a cloud service, or a service fabric, or a container, or a container registry. There are n number of services been product is been coming under Azure Compute category. Now, if you want to understand this one, you can just go to Microsoft product. You can just go to Microsoft Azure product. Just type Azure products. Now, if you go to Microsoft portal, Right now, we have landed on the Microsoft Azure portal. On the top, you are able to see a couple of options here. That's called Explore Product Solutions, right? Now, if you click on the Products tab, if you click on the Compute one, you can able to see all the compute products. It's been supported on the compute category. Right now, you may be able to see there is a virtual machines, virtual machine scale set. You have app service and sport service or a batch or a spring apps. There are different options you are able to see. Now, if you go to a networking side, you have a virtual networking tab. So right now you can able to see like you have a VPN gateway, you have a DNS, and you have any load balancer like this almost 35 plus service you are able to see. Now, Azure Compute case, if you're seeing, as I said, we have many services been hosted on compute category. Right now, we are planning to discuss about the first or a basic compute device on a Azure side that's called virtual machines. We are trying to understand how this virtual machine can be installed on a or how the service can be deployed in a on-premises one. We'll try to understand how this virtual machine can be configured in a cloud side also. We'll do a comparison of both, and we'll try to do a comparison of all the services on a Microsoft OS side. So that's the planning we have right now. Now, if you go to a Azure Compute, uh, the terminology is been going to be the same. Sorry, terminology is going to be different. The concept is going to be the same only. Now, in a Microsoft Azure case, we have seen like the VM which you are going to create inside a Microsoft, that is known as a virtual machine. But when the same product, if it is coming on Amazon side, that is known as a EC2. Now, if you consider other services like a functions or app service or a virtual machine scale set, the same concept is been available on other cloud service providers also, but different terminology is being used. Right now, end of this session, you need to understand Microsoft Azure Compute. It's a resource. It's been basically dealing with all the compute resources, which includes the disk or a processor or a memory or a networking one. It's similar like how generally you've been handled a servers or a workstation in your on-premises or in a data center or a data room. Similar way this is being used. Now I'm getting a question here. In which situation we are going to use the VM? Basically, if you're using a VM, it's been like one customer is saying like, I need to run a Oracle database, or if a customer is saying like, I need to run Microsoft servers, or I need to run a couple of servers on in a on my own risk, then that kind of a situation we can go for hosting a VM on in a hosting a VM. Because in a customer place, if the customer is saying like, I need a server, dedicated server, in a normal on-premises scenario, what typically we were doing, we were connecting to a Microsoft, or we'll be purchasing a Cisco or HP or a Dell servers, and we are purchasing. Now, when it is coming on a Azure side, instead of purchasing or instead of doing a capex cost, we are hosting or we are taking a rent from the cloud service provider. So that is the way this has been working. Now let's try to understand how this has been configured also. Now, if you're saying on a virtual machine case, in a normal typical on-premises scenario, there are two method we were using in a on-premises or a data center or a data room. The first method, all of us know, we used to take a box, that's the server. On top of the server, we used to install a host operating system, and hypervisor is not the I'm just giving a normal scenario. And on top of that, we used to install a application. That was the first scenario. Now later on, the we came to know that we are not utilizing the server. That's the reason we came with a concept called hypervisor. I hope all are agreeing with that point, right? So that's the reason we started using a different virtualization concept, like, or you may be already aware about it, called VMware ESX or Microsoft Hyper-V, this kind of softwares we used to use, right? So virtually we are simulating, or we are simulating the hardware and making a multiple machines on the same server. So this again, the virtualization technologies we divided as a two. That's called type 1 and a type 2 also. Now the same kind of a technology Microsoft also it's been using, and I can say almost all cloud service providers also using the same technology on their data centers. Now, instead of directly installing on a server in the backend, now if the moment when you create a VM on a Microsoft Azure portal, in the backend, Microsoft is being connecting to the Fabric controller or orchestrator on the data center and creating the VM for us. Now, when it is coming on a virtual machine on an Azure side, the resource that typically, if you are the technical term, generally we are using on in a Microsoft Azure, it's called VM. Now, any computer on any server which you are creating on a Microsoft Azure side, that technically known as a virtual machines. So the servers, because previously in an on-premises scenario, we used to create in a physical box, right? Now, whatever virtual machine which you've been using on in a Microsoft side, the shortened term we are using, it's called VM. Now, for an end user, now if I'm a user, if I've created a virtual machine on a Microsoft Azure side, for an end user, he may think this is being directly hosted because he's been not understanding, or he's not knowing, it's been like whether this has been hosted it on a Microsoft Hyper-V, or whether it's been hosted on a Azure side, or whether it's been hosted on a directly on a physical server. Now, for as a user, he will be getting a screen, and the user is be not worried, or is be not knowing what is happening on the backend side. Now, in a Microsoft Azure case, if you're hosting a VM, we are not paying any capex cost to you. That's the first point you need to remember, because all the capex cost is being on, or it's been handled by the Microsoft Azure itself. Now, as a user, Robin or Arif or Lim or it's Manuel, we are paying only the amount for the OPEX cost, the amount which you are spending for the managing the or the consumption of your VM, or the based on the configuration of the VM, we are paying the money to Microsoft. Clear? Any question from anyone? I'm just posing here in case if you have any question. Let's have a discussion and debate. Then we'll be moving to the next portion. Any question from anyone? If you're good and clear, I request you to comment that also on the chat window, so I can ensure that we all are on the same page. All good? Okay, Rahman, we got a couple of feedback. Thank you. I request everyone, all the members to comment it. Yeah, Fong is asking what is the kind of hypervisor using? Fong, as per my understanding, Microsoft is using Microsoft Hyper-V. There are some situation if you are trying to do boot diagnostics on the Azure side, you may be able to see like this has been connecting to Hyper-V. You may be able to see this one. So all my understand, it's been using Hyper-V. Prabal, he was trying to ask what is the backend technology Microsoft is using on in a Microsoft data center. He has a advanced question, is saying that right now, Prabal, if you're trying to create a VM on a Microsoft Azure side, what is the backend technology Microsoft is using? That was the question. I think Prabal is got confused. Prabal, this was the question. 1 second. In case if you got confused, I'll help you. Don't worry. I hope you can see the screen. Okay. Now, Prabal, I'm just coming to this point here. Now, if Prabal or the firm wants to create a VM or in a server, in a normal or in a laptop or in your server in your office, how generally you are installing? You will take your laptop or a server and you will connect a monitor, right? Then you will put your DVD or ISO image and you're installing on top of the source. You're agreeing with this point? Prabal, you're okay? Yes, okay. Now, Fong was asking a question here, how this has been happening on a Microsoft side. So I was saying Microsoft having a data center in different parts of the globe. Like they have a 140 countries, they have a offices or data center. Right now, if you go to a portal or if you just go to Google and type a term code Microsoft Azure regions, you can just type a term code. Any members can try. It's called regions. Data center. If you type here, if you select this page, you may be able to see a map here. See here, there is a globe. There is an option called Explore Globe, right? Right now, if you click here, you will be able to find out the data center. Right now, Microsoft is having across the globe. Right now, you can able to see the globe pic and you will be able to see this one. See, right now, this is the globe. See, they have 140 countries. They have a data centers. Right now, all this data center option you are able to see on the screen, right? There is a dot and there is a, you can able to see it, right? If you are clicking here, you can able to see what is the data center, each location, right? Explore the globe. Okay. Now, if I'm selecting, now if I can able to select it here. Now, if I'm selecting here, I can able to see, oh, this is for the Canada Central. I can able to see all the details about that data center. So right now, like this way, they're having a data center across the globe. Right now, if you can see here, all the parts of this globe, they have a data center. Now, Fong was asking a question, how I can, as a user, I'll be able to connect to this one. And what is the technology they are using on the data centers? I was saying, let me share the screen here. Share, just give me a second. Give me a second. Yes, we'll do create a form. We are planning to create a VM. Before that, I need to help them to understand what is a VM. Then I'll move into creation of this. This already we are there on the agenda. So we'll be covering that portion. My system got hanged. Just give me a second. Yeah. Okay. Now we understood Microsoft having a data center across the globe. Now, if I'm a user, I'm sitting in India or a Philippines or any of these countries. If I need to create a VM on in a Microsoft data center, how this is possible? Now you have a multiple data center here. Generally, if you're taking the thumb rule, it's like based on the user availability, we used to create a VMs in a different locations. Now, if I have a user, I have many users who's been connected on a Canada location, I may host my data center in a Canada rather than placing a server in a Philippines or rather than facing a servers in another country because we need to avoid this. We need to avoid latency issue. So generally based on the user requirements or based on the user availability, we used to place the service. Now, if I need to connect into Microsoft Azure side, you may be using a different management tools. One it's been like you can able to connect using a Azure portal you already aware about this term. Like generally, we used to connect using a HTTP/ uh, Azure portal.azure.com, right? So this is the link all of us currently using your organization, right? You just, if you type micro http/portal.azure.com, which I pasted on the chat, so you'll be connecting it, access. Second option, if you're good in a PowerShell, you can use a PowerShell, or if you're good in SDK, you can try SDK, or if you're good in Azure CLI, you can use Azure CLI, or if you are good in Azure Bash or Azure Shell, you can use any of this management. And based on that, you will be connecting, or that's the API will be connected. Now, each data center will have n number of physical server will be hosted. Will have n number of physical server will be hosted in all the data center, and all the physical server will be hosted with a two component. One is known as Hyper-V, and second one is called FC, also so fabric controller. And all this fabric controller will be connected to orchestrator, and orchestrator will be connected to orchestrator API. On this API, all these management tools are be connected. Now, the moment Prabal, or it's been like a Fong is giving a request saying that, hey, Microsoft, I need one server in Canada data center. The request first will hit on the API. API will connect to the orchestrator. Orchestrator will be connected to FC. FC will check with the hypervisor. Data center, Canada data center, tell me which servers you have a space. So based on that, they will give a request, and they will validate all your subscription, everything. And finally, it will return saying that, hey, Robin, you can connect a servers. Now, Fong was asking what is the technology is using as a hypervisor here. So because if you're taking a market, you have n number of hypervisor products are available. For a Microsoft Azure case, Microsoft is using their own product called Microsoft Hyper-V. It's been clear now. Prabal, it's been, you okay with this, or it's still you have any questions? Okay. So technically backend, it's been using a Microsoft Hyper-V for a simulating the physical servers. Now, I got a couple of questions here. Let me try to answer that. If the existing on-premises using a VMware, is it possible to stick to VMware? May if you already having VMware, I got a question something like this. You already having on-premises data center. Okay. Now you already have a physical server is being hosted, and you are using a VMware. And let's consider like on top of the this VMware, you're using a Active Directory source. Now, part of a lift and shift or a part of a rehosting, almost all the resources been migrated into a cloud. Now, may you have two options here. One option is like you can migrate, or you can able to upgrade this resource also into the cloud. That's the one option. Or whatever topic currently we are handling today, that's called a concept called hybrid mode. Hybrid mode means that you will have some X percentage of the servers will be available on premises, and balance will be available on a cloud side. Now, in case if you are thinking, or the organization, your organization is thinking, this is Active Directory server, I don't need to move to cloud side because this is a backbone of my network. I don't want to move the server into cloud side, but all your VMs are hosted here, or all your, so almost 90% is being moved here. So that kind of a situation, we need to use a kind of a hybrid cloud kind of a mode here, because you will be using a combination of on premises plus cloud mode. Now, the first question, like in case if you want to use both the options, both the infrastructure on the both the side, like you have on premises and you need to have a cloud side, you need to have some kind of a connectivity. So that generally it's been provided with a concept called VPN. That's called virtual private network. You need to have a concept called VPN. That way connectivity is being needed. So VPN is generally in Azure. It's been configured in a 3 mode. One is known as a P2S, that's called point to site, or the second one is known as a site to site, and you will have something called Azure Express Route. Now, once the connection is being done, as Pong is mentioned, you need to sync. This is with a concept called Azure AD Sync. This is a kind of option we can able to use. With the help of that, you can able to use it. So answering to your question, in case if you're thinking like, if you want to host or if you want to hold your VMware infrastructure, you can hold it, and you need to make some kind of a connectivity like this. Clear? Now, other than that, I think we have another questions here. Is there any free space that I can create it on in a Microsoft site? Wait. So is there any free space that I can create VM rather than Azure Cloud? That's you have to Charita, you need to check on the VMware options. You have an option for resizing the, you can do that. Now I have another question. How can I get the records? That's already we have posted. We'll post all that link. It's end of the session. Fong answer question has been already answered. Now attendance link already we have. I think almost all question has been answered. Now let's go back to the Azure Compute. Okay, so for me, let's say I already have an existing AD. What is the best approach to have the AD on a cloud? Can you show? Fong will try to cover this topic during the identity management class. We have a session on identity management. So that time I'll show you how AD Connect can be used or how Active Directory can be configured on a Microsoft Azure side. Possible on the third day, we can able to cover this topic. Okay, so we'll cover that topic. Otherwise it's been people will be get confused about that. So possibly on the third day, thus tomorrow we'll cover the DNS, and day after tomorrow we'll cover this topic, AD Connect and Active Directory or identity management. So right now I'm moving your question on the bucket, and the third day will be, so we'll be discussing that. So till now this is the uh, discussion we had. This is in on-premises cases. We used to install it on a physical server. Right now, this has been moved. The physical server has been previously, we were working on a physical server. On top of that, virtual machines are installed. Right now on a cloud, the physical server has been moved to cloud, and you do not have any kind of physical servers here. So all this is being moved to cloud. This is the way it's been working. Now let's take a 5 minutes break, and after that, let's try to create a VM, and we'll be discussing about a couple of OS parts also. What are the different operating systems being currently available, and we'll see how this can be connected also. Let's take a 5 minutes quick break, and after that we'll have a discussion on VM installation part. So 5 minutes break. So let's start. I hope all are back. First, need to create a resource group and subscription. Can explain a resource group. Is it is called region? No, it's been different. So we'll come to that topic of funk. Now, I hope all are back. If you're back from break, so if you can just comment it on the chat, we can start the sessions. So we got a one response. Okay. So I think most of the members are back. Also, before break, we were discussing about a concept called VM. It's called a virtual machines. So we understood the workstations or the servers, which we were using in on-premises one. When this has been moved to Azure side, that's generally known as a VM or a virtual machine. That's the standard terminology we are using. Now, what is the advantage you are getting when after moving the VM to a cloud? The advantage, because previously we were using the physical servers, or it's on top of the physical server we used to install the operating system. Now these points already we have discussed already. You may be aware of about this. Now the benefit which you are going to get it on a Azure VM, it's something like you don't need to buy any physical servers, right? That's the first advantage you are going to get, because already we know it's been like when you're installing a VM on top of the physical server, this has been hosting. The concept is been going to be the same only here. The only difference here, it's been like who has been hosting, or who has been holding, or who has been handling this one. It's been uh, that's very important here. So in here, in this case, you don't need to Fong, it's been like it's a mix of batch, because I have a people, it's been the first time is attending. So I need to cover all these points, because I cannot also, it's a mix of batch. So I need to ensure that all are on the same page. So I cannot skip any slides here. So maybe a few people, maybe it's been good in that, but rest I need to consider all the batch. So I need to cover this one. Now, benefit which you are going to get it here, it's been like you're not managing any servers here. This completely it's managed by the Microsoft here. So the advantage which you are going to get it here, it's like similar like your Uber, you're paying only for the OpEx cost. Second one, it's been like people always having some kind of a perceptions here, saying that Microsoft is been only supporting a Windows based servers. No, Microsoft servers, if you are taking, this has been supporting Unix as well as Windows and other flavors also. So all this information, you will be able to get it in a place called Marketplace. It's called Marketplace. Now, once you log into Microsoft portal, let me show you that. Let me connect into. I'm just connecting here. So I'm just connecting to right now. Already we are discussed like using a HTTP portal. We are connecting to Microsoft portal. This is the portal where you are connecting. Already yesterday we are discussed like how to create a free account. So whatever username and password which you have created, the same account you can be used here. So let me. So right now I have provided my credentials. Now it's been asking a couple of personal information also, which what was the primary ID it's been given. So let me provide that. So it's asking an OTP code. Okay. It's been Sandesh. It's been supporting the 64-bit architecture here. Because it's been like in Azure case, it's been supporting 64 architecture. Now, right now it's asking an OTP here. So let me type the OTP here. So I just want to hide the personal information. That the reason just change the screen. Right now you can able to see. Right now we have been landed on the Microsoft Azure portal layout window. Right now how you can able to see the screen. Let me zoom it. Okay. Now we have diverted from a point. Uh, Many times the people having a doubt. It's been like Microsoft Azure has been supporting only Windows operating system. No, it's been supporting the Unix also. So this is the window right now you're seeing on the screen. That's known as Azure portal layout. The term generally we are using that's called Azure portal layout, where you can able to do all kind of management also. Now, in case there are some situation, if you are not seeing this left side screen, whatever the screen you are seeing on the left side, that is known as a resource panel. It's called a resource panel. There's a window which we are seeing on the left side that's called resource panel. In case if you're not seeing this window, don't worry. You can go to this right side top. There you can able to see one gear symbol. You can able to click it on here. There you can able to see an option called appearance and startup views. So if you're changing this mode, uh, you can able to bring your resource panel on the home screen. Right now you can able to see you're not seeing any resource panel window here, right? So this all adjustment you need to do it on the gear symbols here, which you are seeing on the right side top. There you can able to make a theme change, or if you want to make any kind of a contrast, all these points you can able to do it on the top. Right now I'm not covering that topic because few people maybe the first time it's been connecting, so that the reason I thought like I'll cover this point. So whatever points which you're seeing on the left side, that is known as the resource panel. Now in the resource panel, there you can see an option called marketplace. In case if it is not added here, you can go to the search bar and you can type a code marketplace. So this is something like a supermarket kind of options. So whatever products or a softwares or the application which has been supported on the Microsoft, all the details you will be able to pick it from this place. That's called marketplace. Almost 8,000 plus product which you can able to see it here. Now if you want to type Windows, you can able to see all the Windows operating system here. You can just press enter. It will load all the Windows operating system. Now if you type Linux, you can able to see Linux operating systems. Now somebody is asking like IBM Risk. Now IBM Risk, it's not supported here right now in the latest one. IBM Risk servers, or it's been the Solaris type of, it's been not supported here. Now, yes, Sandesh, we need to purchase. It's been like all these products will have a charge will be there, so you need to purchase. For example, like Sandesh, if you have selected Windows servers, so there will be a cost involved for that. Basically, there are two costs is being involved. One is called a storage cost, and another one is called a compute cost also. Right now, you can able to see the charge for this one. For example, like if I'm selecting a Windows server, I can select the model here. For example, like I'm selecting Windows 2022 data center option. If I'm create option, Sandesh, this will be pointing to your create a virtual machine page. In the bottom, you will be able to see what is the amount it's been charged for this one. So this is the per month charge that you need to convert into the minute, because it's been minute billing we are doing. Now, if you want to calculate all this pricing part, that's a called Azure price calculator we'll have. That's called tool called Azure price calculator. If you want to calculate how much amount you need to spend, there is a pricing calculator options you have. I'm just pasted that link on the chat window. If anyone want to check, or if you want to understand what is the price it's been involved, you can able to see it here. So if you want to understand how much money you are spending for this your solution, you can able to calculate from here. For example, like I'm adding a virtual machine here, I can click it here, virtual machines. Then I'm going to add one networking component like virtual network. I need one VPN gateway. You can add it, and you can able to give all this. You can fill all these things, and finally you will be able to identify what is the monthly cost it's been involved for this. Right now, the concept or the discussion which we had, it's about marketplace. So marketplace is nothing. It's kind of a supermarket in the Azure where you are able to select the operating system. So the benefit which you are going to get it here on the Microsoft Azure, it's been supported on the Windows operating system, and it's been supported on the uh, other flavors of the operating system also. Now, we already understood which situation you're going to use a VM. Typically, like if the user wants to connect, or if you want to user wants to get a complete control over your compute, or it's been the physical computer side, then that kind of a situation we are going for a VM. Like if the user want to get a complete control over the VM or the system, that kind of a situation we used to go for virtual machines. Now, the moment when you're migrating from a on-premises to cloud side, the technical term, or in almost all the books, you maybe heard about a terminology called lift and shift. It's called most of the times, like when you participate in a project or in a call or a discussion, you maybe heard about a term called lift and shift. In case if you're moving your on-premises infrastructure into a cloud, that generally it's been mentioned, or it's been with a term called rehosting, or few books you may be heard or it's been read this as a lift and shift. Few books I have seen like this has been mentioned as a rehosting. It's called rehosting. The rehosting is the um, term we have been using. It's called rehosting is the term generally we are using. So with the help of a rehosting, we can able to um, manage this one. So it's called rehosting. So rehosting is the term generally we are using. So with the help of a lift and shift, we can able to do a migration. Now, whenever you're going for a migrating, or whenever you're going to create on any virtual machine, that's going to be the foundation one, because AZ800, we talks about Active Directory, DNS, or a DHCP. Where you're going to install this operating, where you're going to install this service, you're going to install on top of the virtual machines. Now, right now on the screen, you are seeing a top view of a VM. Once the VM is being installed, what are the components are associated with this one? For example, like you will have a VM. If you're trying to install a VM, there are a couple of additional dependent resources also it's been created along with that. So you will have a virtual NIC, right? Everything is been going to be a virtual only here, because if you take a physical server, you have a physical box on the backside of the physical server. Most of the time situation you may be seeing a uh, network interface card, or few books it's may be referred, or few people may be referred this as a ethernet card, right? Where your physical cable or a RJ45 cable you used to connect it, right? Now when it is coming on a Azure side, you're not using any physical ethernet card here. Instead of that, you will be using a concept called virtual network interface. That's called VNIC. That's the topic called VNIC. So I'll be covering this one. Nothing to worry about that. So we'll have a concept called VNIC in a Azure side. In an on-premises side, how this has been connected? This has been connected with the help of a network interface card. That's a physical Ethernet card. So you have a different vendors are available, and with the help of that, we are managing that also. And you may be configuring a network teaming, and you will have multiple network cards, different speed of cards you may be available in a on-premises or a data center side. Now, when it is coming on a Azure side, this has been configured with the help of a concept called VNIC. That's called Virtual Network Interface Card. Clear? Any question in one? Okay, it's been clear. Okay, good. Now, I'm trying to share you some information about how the VM is being configured here. It's been like you have a VM here. Now, VM is once you configured a VM, along with the VM, we understood there is a VNIC card has been automatically it's been created. I hope this point has been clear. What is the purpose of a VNIC card here? Because with the help of VNIC only, we are making all kind of a communication. If you want to communicate from one virtual machine to another virtual machine, that communication is being passing through this VNIC card only, right? This is kind of a gate, or it's a front door. So right through this door only, all the incoming, the right term which you are using on in a Azure, that's called inbound. The technical term which you are using, it's called inbound, not the incoming. And the communication which is going outside, that is known as outbound. So inbound and outbound communication has been happening through this VNIC only. I hope this point has been clear. So when you are installing a VM, along with a VM, a VNIC card is been created. Now, along with that, you will have some additional disk also it's been created. Now, if you're considering your on-premises physical VM, you got a box that's called a Cisco or IBM or it's HP or a Dell physical hardware. You got it, right? You already know it inside the hardware, or if you're using a storage, you will have a disk, right? What is the purpose of a disk here? This is one for the operating system, and you will have some disk for saving your data also, right? For saving an Oracle or it's been applications, you'll have a additional data disk also it's been available. Now the same concept has been applicable here also. Now when you are configuring a VM, uh, for configuring your DHCP or a DNS or Active Directory, for saving all the database files or a logs, you need a disk also. Typically, by default, there is a two disk has been automatically, it's been created on a Azure side. One is known as a OS disk. Second one is known as a temporary disk. So you'll have a two disk has been available. One is called OS disk and second one is a temporary disk. You have a two disk has been available. Now, the point you need to remember, as a system administrator or as a cloud administrator, never entertain any user or ourselves not allowed to save any information on in a OS disk or a temporary disk. What is the reason behind that? Temporary disk is generally using for saving your page file or a virtual machines or a virtual files or a cache files. So whenever if you're rebooting the server, whatever files you've been created in a temporary disk, that will be cleared. So it's not entertained to save any data on a temporary disk, or it's not allowed to create it on in a OS disk also. So always in a customer or in a production scenario, I recommend you to create an additional data disk. This is one point always you need to remember. Otherwise, customer will say, "Hey, Fawaz, I have created some file on my temporary disk and it's not showing here." So the reason it's like every time if you're rebooting the server or whenever the server is got rebooted, whatever data which you have saved on a temporary disk, that will be auto cleared. Right now, don't worry about this because I'll show you practically how this has been working. Okay, nothing to worry. Right now, end of this session, you need to understand, along with your virtual machine, there are some additional data disk also it's been created. That's a virtual disk, okay? In a on-premises or in your data room or a data center, you may be using a Seagate or a Western Digital physical hard disk you may be connecting, right? Or you may be provisioned from a EMC or a NetApp, right? That's been connected through a LAN. But here, this has been connected in a virtual way. So that is the difference. Now, for making a communication in a normal on-premises network, we used to use a switch or a router or a hub, and you'll have a particular IP schema or a network structure we were using, right? Similar kind of a networking it's been using here also, that generally known as a virtual network, or in a Microsoft Azure term, this is known as VNet. That's called VNet. It's called virtual networking. What is the IP address to be used? And we'll be having a two type of IP address also we'll be using. That's called public IP address, and another one is known as a private IP address also. I'll be showing this one also. Now, you will be using a two more terminology here. That's called resource and a resource group. It's called a resource on a resource group. So let me explain you that what is a resource and a resource group, because people, are you comfortable with this resource and resource group? Or if you're already knowing this topic, I can move to the next one. Do I need to explain that? If I need to explain that, can you comment it on the chat window? So I'm saying like, do we need to discuss the resource and resource group? Not clear about the resource group and resource sender. Okay. Okay. So people are looking for a resource or so the explanation of this. Now, okay, sure. I'll do that. Right now, if you connected to Microsoft portal, right now I hope all can able to see the Microsoft Azure portal here, right? Yes, I'm just I can see in my secondary monitor also. It's been working. Now, if you go to Microsoft portal, um, on the product page, you may be already seen Microsoft is supporting almost 100 plus products, which includes compute, which includes networking, which includes a storage or a DevOps or a n number of product or a service is been supported here. Now, if you go to here inside here also, on the left side on the resource panel, you may be seeing a term called all services tab, right? So if you're seeing here, there is a term called all services. Now, if you click on this all services, on the right side, again, a window is been opening. Now, this has been listing all the services currently it's been supported on the Microsoft Azure side. And it's been Microsoft has been beautifully, it's been organized also here. Now, if you go to category, now if I'm a user who manage the compute, I can click on the compute. I can able to see all the product it's been supported here. Right now, you can able to see. Now, right side, you may be seeing a star mark also, right? Right now, if you may be seeing like there is a few resource you may be able to see is a star mark. So there's nothing special here. This is something like now if you're seeing your all services, it's supporting 100 plus services here. Now on the left side, I told the panel or the option which you are getting or the tab you are getting. This is known as a resource panel window, right? I was saying on the left side, create a resource or a home, or there you can able to see there is a star mark with a written heading is written favorites, right? Now Microsoft is supporting 100 plus services. Now all the 100 plus services not listed here. So only the star mark resource or the services only added here. That's the reason it's been showing here saying that, hey Robin, you mark this service as a favorite item. That's the reason the star mark is been coming. Now, if I need to add service fabric to my resource panel, which is been showing on the left side, very simple. I need to just keep my mouse here and I need to just press it here. So once it is pressed, you can able to see this is will added here. See here on the left side tab, you can able to see now it's been the service fabric has been added. Now, if I need to add a Kubernetes here, just press it here. You can able to see it's been added here. So that's the meaning of this one. Few people may be wondering, hey, Robin, where is only few services showing a star mark is something important? No, this is something like it's a, in your mobile, you may be creating a shortcut on your home screen, right? WhatsApp or a Facebook or a Gmail, the tool which generally you're using, you're putting as a favorites and keeping a home screen, right? Same mode only here also. So nothing to worry about that. So right now we were diverted from a resource and resource group tab. Right now, if you're seeing here, in a all services tab, you are able to see 100 plus of services here. Now, all these services is generally known as resource, the technical term we are using on a Microsoft, it's called resource. So the definition for a resource, any manageable service which has been available on Azure, that generally known as Azure resource. The technical team is known as a Azure resource or a resource. If you take any of this component, now you take a batch account. I have an option to configure it here. Now you go back to networking. Even your IP address, a public IP address also is a resource. So technically, if you need to understand any manageable service which is been showing on a Microsoft portal, that generally known as a resource. Clear? It can be a computer, that's called a VM, or it can be a VNet, or it can be a public IP address, or it can be a private IP address, or it can be containers, or it can be Kubernetes, or it can be SQL database, or it can be a Cosmos DB, or it can be any of the web tool like a media service, or it's been a front door or a CDN. All this is generally known as the terminology or the term we are using on Azure, that's called resource. Any question from anyone? Clear? Yes, that means like if you go to a supermarket, you have n number of products is been available, right? You may be having a turmeric powder, you have a rice, you have a wheat powder, you have a sandals, you have a soap, so you have a washing powder, different products you have, right? Yes. Now, last weekend, we all of is been went to a supermarket and we purchase all these products. And after reaching a home, you purchase a grocery, okay? You purchase a n number of groceries, and after reaching a home, what is the first action you generally used to do? Like after reaching a home, or I'm just giving a scenario here. Now let me take in this way. Yes, create a group. What is the purpose of a group? Now let's take a scenario like we all of us is joined in a schools, right? Now myself is Robin joined, Sandesh joined, Rui is joined, right? Right? Or it's been like Mark is joined, right? Pravaz is being joined, right? The first action after getting a college admission, so we all are studying in the same college. Few people maybe move to chemistry department based on our choice, right? Few people may be used to physics department. Few people is moved to IT department. Few is moved to HR, right? So is a grouping is being done in a college also, right? What is the advantage of this one? One, it's been like a better administration. Second one, it's like based on my choice, I can study this one. Management, okay, management and whatever. Okay. Now, in the grocery case, after reaching home, instead of putting all these groceries on a one box near home, or you or ourselves or your spouse, or it's been like your mom, instead of putting all rice and wheat on a single box, you may be seeing like they generally using different containers, right? What is the advantage of that? That's a better management, right? In your home, if you go to, in case if you are not seen today after this session, go to your kitchen and you may be able to be surprised. There is a different boxes you can able to see. Biscuit in one box, your noodles in another box, and rice in another box, or it's sugar in another box. You can able to see, right? So the better management of your this one. Now, similar way here also. Let me connect you back to Azure portal. Now, I hope you can see my screen. I may have to. Oh, I think my account is got disabled here. I may have to take a minute time here. I need to let me connect with my friend. So because my account is expired yesterday. So let me just give me a second. Let me connect with my friend, and because I don't have much time for creating and buying a subscription right now. So let me get it from my friend. Just give me a second. Give me a second, okay? Because my PAS account is got expired. So I might have to use my friend ID. Just give me a second. Let me use my colleague ID. So yesterday we were discussing about a free account, right? That got a 30 days validity. The same way I was using a free account here. That validity is got over yesterday. That's the reason I was not able to create anything. So right now I have to depend my office colleague ID. Yeah, so it's given details. I just connected to him. He helped me. Yes. Okay. Now we were discussing about a resource and resource group. Now let's we create a resource here. Right now you can able to see we don't have any or not sure about he's created any resource. No, he also not created any resource here. Right now there is no resource is created here. Let me create a dummy resource. I'm trying to, we are discussing about it two terminologies here. One is called resource versus resource group. Okay, so we understood what is a resource. Now we are trying to understand what is resource group. So let me show you in a practical way that will help you to understand what is the difference between these two. So right now, if you are seeing here, there are two terminologies are mandatory here. Right now, you can able to see in a red star mark. It's been there are some few terms we need to fill it. So there you can able to see an option called resource group. Okay. Right now, don't worry about that. Let's create a resource group called cloud admin. Okay. Cloud admin. I'm just giving a virtual machine name is server one. I've been created in the region. Right now, you can able to see whenever you're creating any products on a Microsoft Azure side, it will ask you which data center you need to create this one. So generally, how you will be selected this one based on where your user is been residing. So for example, like all of my user are from central US, I'll select it as central US. I'm selecting it's been a Windows server. I been given username and password. That's been giving trg admin password has been given. Okay, now I'm creating this. So don't worry about the options. Okay, I'll be discussing all these things. Okay, I'm just trying to show you the difference between resource and a resource graph. Now, let me make a small change here. Instead of cloud admin, let me make this as HR department. The container name I'm just changing is like HR. This point here. Let's wait 1 or 2 minutes because this validation has been happening. So we have created a VM here. So don't worry about how this is being created. Okay, I'll teach you how to do. Right now, our focus is about on the resource group and the resource level. Okay, right now deployment is in progress. Right, you can able to see on the screen. So we need to wait a minute. So deployment, I think almost it's about to finish. So let's wait. Marketplace also, it's been a resource of Sandesh. Marketplace also, it's been created. Is it okay if you to create them from? Yeah, both it's been pointing the same page, Charita. Let's be like, whenever the moment you create, that will be moving or taking to the same console on same page only. It's been taking. Right now, you can hold the creation of the VM because we need to discuss a couple of points also. Right now, we are discussing about a resource group. So right now, if you go to the all resources here, right now you can able to see. I think all members, if you can just look into the screen right now, you may be seeing we have created a virtual machine called server one, right? You can able to see it's been a server one, it's been created. But you may be seeing at the time of a creation, Robin has been given only a information or in the portal, I have requested only for a server one only, right? I told like I needed a Windows server with a name server one to be created. But if you can notice here, along with your VM, there is a couple of other resources also automatically it's been created. Right now, if you can able to see here, there is a network it's been created along with that. There is a network watcher has been created along with your virtual machine. There is a disk also it's been created. There is a public IP address also it's been created. Now, if you're seeing here, there are 2 points you will understand here. One is the first point, it's like whenever you are creating a VM, along with the VM, there is a couple of dependent resources are created. Is that point is clear to you? If it is clear, can you just comment it on the chat window? Or if you want further discussion on that, I'm happy to do that also. If you're clear that, you can comment it because it may be confusing one. So I want we want all the people to be on the same page. That's the reason I'm requesting to comment it because right now we are doing this training on a remote, so I'm not able to see your expression. So that the reason I'm requesting you to comment it on that. So the first point is been clear to everyone, saying that whenever you're creating a VM, along with the VM, a couple of additional resources are also created. Now the second point, if you can notice here, all these resources are organized inside a container called resource group. There's something like in your college, when you join, all the people who's been part of a physics or it's in a computer, or it's been added into a batch or it's been a department, right? Same way here also, any resource who's been associated with the HR, I can organize with the help of a resource group, right? Right now, if you can able to see here in the third column, there you can able to see an option called resource group. How it is been organized here, it's saying that all the components it's been associated with HR at the time of a creation. We have selected an option called resource group here, right? See here, there is an option, you got it right. Now at the time of a creation, you are saying whenever you are creating this virtual machine, all the components go and save in inside a container called HRs. Got the point? Now I'm saying Fravas, if you're joining on a college, I'm saying like Fravas has been hired into a department called HR. You got a tagging, right? When you join a company, you may be associated to HR or a finance or a market or a IT team or a cloud team. You are getting a tag, right? You are an employee of that organization, but additional to that, you are getting a tagging, right? Yes, I think Fonk, we need to wait for this. So virtual network, it's been coming. I'll discuss that one. Okay. For us, this question has been clear now. For us, if you can comment, I can move that. Yes, thank you. Now, Fonk, connecting to virtual network and subnetting, that's a bit advanced topic. So we need to wait some more time. I'll cover that one. I'm moving that question to bucket right. Okay. So now, so resource group is something like resource group. It's been right now. It's something like it's a kind of a container. Now, I didn't select Fonk this virtual network because this is being moved into a default one. In case if you're not selected, Azure by default, it will create a default network in this one. That's the reason I didn't select anything. So automatically I have configured with the default virtual network option. Now, in case if you want to do any kind of a customization on the tab, you may be getting an option called disk or a networking. Yes. Now, Dilishan is asking like, can we add multiple VM to the same resource group? Dilishan, you can see it here. Now you see here, like how let's answering to your question. Let's see it on the practical way. Let's create a VM1. Now, Dilishan is asking like, is it possible to create a multiple VM onto the same resource group? Now, Dilishan, if you can see here, I've selected the same resource group here. Okay, I select VM. I given a username and password. Ubuntu I selected. Okay, a review and let's create. Now it's been reviewing. Great. Okay, so we need to wait a minute. Now, right now it's been submission. It's been submitted. We need to wait a minute. So the deployment is in progress. Now we cannot create any sub resource group. That's not possible, answer. There is no option of creating a sub resource group. Prabal, right now we can skip that point SSH part. So authentication we'll discuss in the later point. So right now, Dilshan, right now you can able to see answering to your question. You can able to see we have created a 2 VMs here. Right now you can able to see Dilshan, your second VM is been created. You can able to see it's been VM1 and it's been residing on the same resource group called HR. So right now, if you go to all resource, you can able to see here along with your VM1, there are some additional dependent resource also it's been created, and all this has been organized inside a resource group. Now that's about uh, resource group. Now there are some situations if you want you can able to create a multiple resource group also. In a normally in a production scenarios, you may be having a uh, multiple department like HR or a finance or a market one. Instead of keeping all this all the resources or all the VMs on a same resource group, typically in a most of the organizations you will have a multiple resource group will be created, like you'll have a HR or a finance or it will have a market. So it's been easy for you to configure, or it's been easy for you to do all kind of administrative tasks. So you'll have a multiple resource group here in case if you want to configure any kind of Azure policy, or if you want to configure any kind of a role-based access control, that will be easy for you. Now, if you have a multiple resource group, for example, right now you have HR is here. Similar way, if you want to create a multiple group, you can create another group also. For example, like you can able to create, it's a finance. Now, whenever you're creating any resource group, always this needs to be mapped to a data center also. It's been ensure that this has to be mapped to a data center also. Now, if I'm creating a resource group, you will have another resource group is being created. Now, the moment when you are typing here, whenever you're trying to create a virtual machines, you can able to see, you will have both the options you can able to, whether you want to keep it in a finance or you want to keep it in HR, you will be getting an option. This is not only for a virtual machine, okay? Whenever you're going for creating any network, any resource on the Microsoft side, it's mandatory that this has to be mapped to a resource group. See here also it's mandatory that you need to create a resource group. So resource group and a region, and there is a one more term called as subscription. What is the use of a subscription? It's asking, Microsoft is asking, hey Robin, how do I need to do a billing? Into which billing I need to do? Right now, I have only one account is been created here. So one subscription only it's been available here. So I'm saying, hey Microsoft, I'm creating a virtual network. Please do all the billing under the subscription of Visual Studio. This one. If I have a multiple option or a subscription, I can able to do it here. Now, right now the Visual Studio subscription is being given here. In case if you want to do any subscription management, you can go to a subscription management. Here you can able to do a renaming, or it's been like, for example, like if I need to make some kind of a modification here, I can able to do it here. For example, like if I need to motivate some like, hey, this is for HR department, or if I need to the subscription for a finance, I can able to do all renaming also. So that will help me to understand who is using this subscription and where this billing is being doing. Right now, I hope you are clear about three terminologies here. What is a resource? That's the first point we have discussed. We have discussed about a terminology called resource group, and we have discussed about a term called subscription. I hope all these 3 points has been clear to you. Any case, if it is not clear, we can discuss. I don't have an issue of discussing multiple time, but I want the end of the session, you are clear about these three terminologies. In case if it is not clear, we can have a discussion also. Don't worry about the time part. I'm ready to extend, but I want, once you go back to your home or once you go back to your office, I want this terminology has been crystal clear to you. We got two answers. It's been clear. I think Fong, we need to wait for that because all this topic is been coming on the DHCP part. That's that time we can able to cover that. Yes, we will be able to give you this one. Subscription is nothing from us. There's something like you may be using a Prime Video or a Netflix or a Hotstar or this kind of application, right? Or Uber. How generally you are doing a billing? First, you maybe created an account. Now, if you want to use Amazon Prime Video, uh, you log into with your account and you have subscribed 6-month plan or a 3 months plan or a 1 year plan, right? After that only the billing has been happening. Same way here also, if you want to use any of this cloud service provider, first thing you need to create an account. Now, if you can see here for my friend, he has been created an account. His name is Ravi. So he's been created an account and he purchased a product called Visual Studio. Now all the billing right now you can able to see whatever resource currently is been using, all the billing is been doing against this subscription. Now the moment for us, if you are trying to create a virtual machines, you are saying, hey Microsoft, please go and do all the billing under this subscription. So if you use 1 hour or 2 hour or 1 year, all the billing will be charged under this Visual Studio. Now, if you have a multiple subscription, if you want to distribute this amount, because some organization having a different IT budgeting, right? HR department having one budgeting and you have finance, another budgeting. So if you want to uh, calculate or if you want to track all the expense which is been utilizing for the IT infrastructure, that generally it's been calculated with a multiple subscription. So each will have a different billing will be. So that's the purpose of this one. Is the resource use only used to create a so the subscription or any? That mean you can able to manage or all the resource which has been available on the Azure that's been categorized or that's been kept under different subscriptions. I hope that means been clear to you. Resource group is only for an organization purpose generally it's been using, and resource group also needs to be map or it's been connected under a subscription and under a region also. All this has been working in a hand-to-hand mode. Okay, now resource and resource group and subscription has been clear now. Can you example where it's been required to a different resource group for a certain subscription? Manjula, I'm just giving a scenario. Uh, it's something like Manjula has been part of a cloud team. Now in your organization, you have a multiple department it's been available. You have a HR department, you have a finance, you have a CEOs or a chief executive department you have, and you have a guest users also you have, and you have a operation roles also. Now, Manjula, you have one option, two options you have in front of you. Now, one option is been like all the resource, for example, like in your organization, you have 1,000 machines. Let me let me take you into this whiteboard. So Manjula may be able to understand with that example. Just give me a second. I hope Manjula, if you can able to see my whiteboard. Give me a second. It's been got stuck. Just give me. The whiteboard has been coming, right? Okay. Now, Manjula, you are working in a IT department. You have 1,000 computers or 1,000 resources been available in organization. Now, your organizations, you have resources from HR department, you have resource from finance department, you have few resources from a market department. All these 1,000 machines are associated with all these departments. All these thousands are part of this one. Now, we understood a concept called resource group. Now, when you create a VM or when you create a resource, whether it's on a VM or a virtual network, we were getting an option called resource group, right? Manjula, you're agreeing with this point? We were getting an option where you can able to select a resource group. Manjula, you're there? Okay. Yeah. So if I'm creating all the 1,000 machines, you have 1,000 machines is here. All these 1,000 machines are part of HR, finance, and market. But right now you have been created all these resource under a resource group called cloud, or you created a group called HR. Now all these computers are mapped here under the one resource group. Now Tomorrow your boss is coming and saying, hey Manjula, we need to configure few policy for a finance computer. Or the organization is took a decision, HR department is being outsourced to another company. So all the resource or all the IT resource is been part of the HR department needs to move to another cloud service provider. That's one requirement. Or your boss or the CFO is coming and saying, hey, Robin, you give me the budget or the IT utilization or the cost currently doing for a HR computer alone. Can we do it here? Because right now, Manjula, you been map all the 1,000 resources in a one single group. Or I'm just giving a simple scenario, Manjula. Now you are in a college, all the 1,000 students, all the 1,000 students are sitting in a conference room. In a conference room, all the students. Now your principal told, hey, physics students, you don't have any class today. Now I have an option. I can go to this conference room. I can connect. I can talk to you individually all the 1,000 machine. Hey, Robin, you don't have any class today. You are from a physics department. Go to your home. This is one option. Or second option I have, it's been like all the 1,000 students. I can create a different classroom for each students. Any students who has been part of physics, go and sit here. Chemistry student, go and sit here. Another department, go and sit here. Now, if I need to put some kind of a permission, that's called Azure policy in here, saying that any policy, if I need to apply here, I can do it in a batch level, right? Now, same way here, if you have a multiple resource group, I can easy for you me to put a different policies here. There is no cost is involved. This for your administration one, you are creating a different group. You may be remembering a concept called organization unit in Active Directory, right? If you worked on a system administrator background, you may be using a concept called OU, right? What was the use of that OU? The basically like in case if you want to push some kind of a group policy or some kind of a delegation if you want to do, that we were doing on it, right? Similar concept only here. You are using a different resource group that will be easy for you to manage. Now, Manjula, your boss is saying like all the computer who's been associated to your HR resource group need to be deleted immediately. Now, if you go to this resource group, right now you can able to see I have a virtual machines here. I have n number of resources being created here. Now, if I don't have any resource group here, this tab, just think like if I don't have this tab here, it's been very difficult for me to identify which resource has been part of a HR department, which resource has been part of my uh, finance department. But if I have a resource group, it's been configured. Now, my boss is saying like decommission all the HR resource. It's very simple for me here. Just click it here, just delete it here. Now, all the resource who's been part of the HR department, it's easy for me to delete here. I just need to type it the name here. I can tell all the resource who has been, I can able to see all the resources been associated there. It's easy for me to manage also. I hope it's communicated this. Still, if you have any question, let me know. I can go with another example. If you are clear, you can just comment it on the chat. I think Manjula has been already commented. It's been clear. Yeah, thank you. So we'll do one thing. Let's take a 3 minutes break. Now it's almost an hour now. So I think all of may need a quick break. Let's take a 5 minutes break and back. Then we'll try to create a video with all the points here. So right now we have been cleared resource group and subscription also. Let's take a 5 minutes break and come back. Thank you, team. I hope all are back. So yeah, few people has been commented. Thank you for that. So before break, we had a discussion on a couple of points here. The first point we had about understanding about the VM. Then we had a discussion on how resource and resource group and subscription is been coming to the picture. Now let's go back on the VM creation part. Let's try to understand how this is being configured on a Azure side. Now I have one guidelines for you. Right now, maybe end of this event or it's end of this program, you maybe start handling the Azure VM or a DHCP or a DNS service. So this point has been very important for you because this event during this event we are focusing on the services part. Now where all these services are going to host, this has been hosting on top of the VM. So you cannot make any kind of a mistake on the VM creation because once the Active Directory or once the DHCP or DNS service, if you're configured on top of a VM, you cannot go back and make any kind of a changes on the VM side because once it's been moved, once it's been moved to the production side, it's been very difficult for you to make any kind of a changes on this on the configuration part because there will be kind of a business impact, right? So it's been ensure that you are making a proper planning or a proper designing on the VM creation one. So in case if you are planning to make any kind of a changes on the Microsoft side, or if you're planning for going for any kind of a on-premises to cloud lift and shift, or if you are planning for any kind of a migration, instead of doing all the VMs on a same site, better to go for a batch wise or try for an individual VM first, then go for a multiple VM migration. So this is the checklist I used to follow whenever I'm going for doing any kind of a migration or whenever I'm going for doing any kind of a uh, VM creation. So this kind of a planning checklist always you can keep it handy with you. That will help you to do a proper planning. So you need to always to have a planning on the network side. You need to have a proper naming standard to be used. You need to have a proper pricing model to be configured, and you need to know which location the VM or what is the type of the operating system to be used. So let's start with the naming part first, then I'll come to the networking. Now, these are the first few points always you need to keep in your mind. So whenever you're going for creation of any VM, so this point always you need to take care. You need to have a clear idea what is the operating system to be used for hosting your DHCP or a DNS because you cannot make any kind of a changes on that. And you need to have a clarity on what is the disk space to be configured, how much disk space is needed for the operating system, how much disk space you needed for the data drive, and what is the kind of processor or what is the kind of a configuration you are going to use it on this. And you need to ensure that what are the ports to be allowed or what are the ports to be blocked also because right now every day you may be uh, hearing a lot of cyber attack. You may be heard day before yesterday Uber also it's been got attacked, right? Cyber attack. So and every day we are used hearing this kind of a cyber attack kind of a situations in the market or in the infrastructure side. So you need to ensure that you are configuring a proper strategy on the network or a cloud security part also. Ensure that only uh, or you're making some kind of a restriction on the communication also because we need to ensure that your infrastructure is been properly it's been secured. So when it is coming on a naming part, so few minutes before or before the break, we have configured a couple of VMs, right? We given some names like dev, or we have given some name like a server one or a VM1. But when you are going on a production scenarios, we cannot use a terms like a VM1 or a server one, because Manjula was saying example like she's having 1,000 VMs on the infrastructure. We cannot give a names like a VM1 or a VM2 or a VM3, right? Maybe today you may be configuring this one. Tomorrow this VM or the infrastructure may be managed by the other engineers, right? So you need to have a proper standard nomenclature or the standard naming pattern to be used in your infrastructure. So I'm just giving some guidelines here. So each company or each organization or each college may be having a different terminologies or a different structure or a standard may be using. I used to use or Microsoft documents. You may be able to see this kind of a pattern or this type of guidelines generally it's been giving. Always you can give some kind of a infrastructure uh, naming to your VM, like where this has been using. Is it using on a development side? You can use a, letters like a DEV, or if it is from a production, you can use a names like say prod, or if it is from a quality one, you can able to use like a QA. And the second terminology you can able to use like which data center this is being used. For example, like if I'm configuring a US data center, US itself you have multiple data center, so you can able to give like UE for the US East data center, and if it is a US West, you can give it like a USW. And if you are can able to mention what is the role it's been used, it's be easy for you to understand, or it's easy for your colleague to understand what is the type of the operating system it is and where this is been hosted. Right now in the screen, I'm just giving an example here. Right now you can able to see I have given some um, um, VM names here. Now, if you're seeing here, I hope you are able to identify this one, right? Can you try to identify this one? If you're seeing here, first letter it's been like, yes, this has been a development one, right? Development one. And this is been using in a US data center, US South Central data center. And this has been configured with a web. And this is been using a VM. And this is using a VM1. It's very beautifully, it's been organized, right? Now, if you are able to identify this one, uh, or if you can organize all your VM like this, it's been easy for you to manage rather than yes, rather than giving it's been like a VM1 or a VM2 or a server one. It's been easy for you to organize, and it's easy for you to identify who is using and what is the type of the applications using. I hope you're agreeing with this point. You have any other thought? If you're agreeing, can you just comment it on the chat window? Okay. So I think all of us is having a similar kind of thought is here. So it's been for us like end of the day, as a cloud administrator, we are going to manage this one. So um, I think we always been agreeing this point. So it's been easy for us to manage. Now, whenever you're going for a Linux one, up to 64 characters has been supported, and Windows side it's been 15 is the norm generally we are using. Um, Fonk, I think I already answered your question. This been your question will be covering in the network one, because if I'm spending a time on this one, I may have to start from an IP address and schema. Again, I need to go back on the day for on the networking one. So it's been confusing for all the batches. That's the reason your two question I've been moved on the bucket. Yes, I promise you I'll be covering on the network side. Okay, don't worry about that. Now we have seen it's been like when we are configuring a VM, along with your VM, always there's a couple of additional resources also it's been configured. You have a storage account, you have a virtual network, you have a network interface card, and you have a couple of security group also it's been created. So always you need to remember whenever you're creating any compute or a VM on a Microsoft Azure side, is not only the VM is being created, you need to remember a point in your mind. Along with the VM, there is a couple of additional dependent resources also it's been created. So there's a one point always you need to remember. Now, This is one of the important point always you need to remember your mind. Whenever you're creating any VM or any resource on a Microsoft Azure side, location or a region has been very important. The reason it's like, now if you go back to this VM or to the Azure portal, you may be noticed whenever you're trying to create any resource on a Microsoft portal, for example, like let's try to create a resource. It's mandatory that data center details we need to provide always, right? You may be noticed here in the region tab or in the region option, there is a red color symbol you are able to see, right? Saying that here, Robin, it's mandatory that you need to provide these details. Now, this has been applicable for all resource. It's not that only for a virtual machine. No, this has been applicable for other resources also. Like when we are going for a virtual network, or when you try to create a virtual network, you can able to see it's mandatory that there is a region option has been available here. Now, the location has been mandatory. For example, like, there are 2 points you need to remember here. For example, like if I'm trying to create a virtual machine, um, I created a financier. Now I have flexibility to select multiple data centers here. So the thumb rule always you need to remember 2 points. First one, pricing is an important part. For example, like if I'm trying to create a VM on in the East US data center, you can able to see what is the cost here. For example, like I've selected Windows Server 2019. In the bottom, you may be able to see there is a loading price is being given here, right? Right now you can able to see. Right now I have been connected from India. So the amount it's been showing in Indian currency saying that here, Robin, you need to pay 4,300 rupees for a 2 CPU or 8 GB RAM. Now I have selected which location is to US data center. Now, if I'm going and selecting other data center, for example, like I've been selected South African North. Let's see what is the price is been given here. You may be able to see a price got changed, right? Right now, instead of 4,000, what is the amount it's been coming here? It's been coming, it's been around, uh, instead of 4,000, the amount is being got changed into 5,000 rupees. Now, if you go to another country, for example, like last couple of years, I'm just thinking like I'll go to Switzerland. Let's try to select an option like Switzerland. Now, Switzerland, what is the price it's been coming? Let's see, amount is being again got changed, right? So this pricing is an important factor whenever you're creating a resource, because each location will have a different price tagging or a price or the rate card will be available. That depends upon the local resource or the local infrastructure cost. All it's been calculated based on that. There is a pricing it's been given. That is the one point. Second point you need to remember, right now Robin has been selected, this location has been Switzerland, because Robin is thinking like, hey, I never visited Switzerland, so let's go and create a VM on a Switzerland. Is that the right strategy? No. Always you need to consider your user location also. For example, like all my users is sitting on a Philippines. There is no point of configuring my server in Switzerland, right? I need to keep my servers near to my geography, right? If my all users are from the Philippines, I may have to put my servers near to a Philippines or in the Philippines itself. The reason it's mean like latency is one of the common concern or one of the common uh, challenge which all of us are facing in a real production scenarios. So that's the second factor you need to consider. Clear? And the third factor you need to consider whenever you're designing any VM or any resource, you need to ensure that that particular product is being available in that particular country or available in that particular data center. Yes, I agree. Microsoft is having regions of 54 plus regions it's been supported and it's been available on 140 country. That doesn't mean all the configurations or all the products are available in each region. No. So always you need to refer Microsoft document. So you need to have a problem like Azure regions tab. You need to go to Azure region and you need to ensure that that particular product is being available. Now, if you are able to see Brazil, Now, if you want to see in a product base, if you want to see, these are the data center they have. Now, if I need to see in the product base, Azure region products, I can show product by region, because once you design, you cannot make any kind of a modification to your environment, right? For example, like I need to find out the computer base. I'm just selecting VM, right? I need to select it's been virtual machines. Now, if I'm selecting here, I can able to select all the regions here. I can ensure that what is the configurations are available here. Now, I need to always, as a cloud administrator or a cloud architect, always you need to refer the Microsoft Azure product page. Otherwise, you will be in a trouble, because in case if you uh, committed your business saying that, hey, this particular configuration has been available in the Brazil region, and now your cloud administrator has been trying to configure this one, and Microsoft is saying that, hey, this configuration is not available there. We cannot go back. We cannot go back to the business and saying that, sorry, boss, I made a mistake. This product is me not available in this data center region, or it's in the particular country. So that may lead, or that may escalate into multiple levels, and you will be in a trouble. So whenever you're designing any product, I'm not saying only the virtual machine, any product, if you're trying to create it here, always refer this page, select that particular product or particular service or a particular uh, configuration is being available in that region. So that's the one important point you need to remember. So typically, whenever you're designing any VM or any product, ensure that where is your user is been residing. Second one, it's been like the pricing is an important tag. And third one is the particular configuration also, it's been available in that location. So end of the session, you need to understand location is one of the important factor always you need to consider whenever you're designing any product. I'm pausing for a minute here in case if you have any question related to this topic, we can have a discussion, or else we can move to the next part. Any question from anyone? Hope you're comfortable and you're clear about this concept, why we are selecting locations. Okay, thank you. I think a few people has been commented on the chat. That's been clear. Okay, let's move to the next portion of this. So location is an important one, and all these points already we have covered. Now let's move to this next portion. Now, size of the VM, that's an important one. In case of in a VM case, Microsoft is allowing us to create a different configurations here. So based on the user or based on the customer requirement, Microsoft is allowing us to configure a different configuration. For example, like if you see here, Microsoft is been classified as a different category like A, or it's B or a D. All this information you will be able to select it from here. Whenever you are going to create a VM, in the bottom, you will be able to see an option called size. There is an option called size. Now, if you're clicking here, based on the customer requirement, user can able to configure different disk or a RAM, or it's been IO output or IOPS. Based on that, they will be able to select the operating system. Microsoft is giving a flexibility to us based on the customer requirement. You will be able to select it a different configuration. If maybe each customer may be having a different requirement, right? If I'm a uh, Photoshop, or if I'm a photographer, my requirement may be like I may be having a high CPU or a high RAM kind of a system. If I'm from HR department, I'm not maybe worried about what is the configuration. Is it a Xeon processor or Intel processor, right? For me, if I'm from HR department, I need to have some MS Office or a Excel files or some application to be used, right? So based on the customer requirement, we have a flexibility to select different configurations here. So at the time of a creation, you can able to select it, and based on the configuration, pricing tab or the pricing also may be going to change it. So because each configuration having a different rate card, so based on the configuration, the pricing will be different. Now that's about the configuration part. Now few people may be having a questions here. Now at the time of a creation, I have configured a X configuration. Now after few months or after few years, customer is coming and saying like, hey Robin, I need to make a changes on the configuration part. I need to do some kind of a technology refreshment. Is there any possibility to do any kind of a configuration change? I'm just comparing this with your on-premises scenario. In your on-premises scenario or in your laptop, we used to do a memory upgradation, right? Now, maybe when your college days, you maybe worked with a 2 GB RAM. Now 16 GB itself is not sufficient for us, right? We used to do a lot of technology refreshment on your laptop. Now, similar kind of a requirement or similar kind of a request, you may be getting in your uh, VM also, seeing that a ADL, like we need to make some kind of a changes. Customer is saying like, I need additional 16 GB of RAM, or I may be having some additional kind of a disk configuration. So people may be having this kind of a question here right now. Is there any possibility to do any kind of a modification after implementing? Yes, we can able to do. So always, if you want to do any kind of a modification, we used to go to the virtual machine tab. There will be getting an option called right now we have deleted all the VMs here because when we are done a resource group lab, we have deleted that. So in the virtual machine itself, you will be getting an option called resize. There will be getting an option called size, and with the help of that, you can able to do resize. The point you need to remember, whenever you're going for making any kind of a configuration change, you need to take a business approval. It's not that my client told you can make any configuration change. No, that's not the right practice. As per the ITIL, we need to ensure that there is a proper outage is been configured, because in case if I need to make any kind of a modification on a VM level, always it's needed downtime. The technical term generally we are using in a production scenario, that's called downtime and outage. So as per the ITL, you need to have a change request with a downtime it's been configured. Otherwise, it's been not allowed you to touch, or you are not supposed to do any kind of a reconfiguration of any of the resource on a Microsoft Azure. Because in case if you are doing, that may lead to termination, or that may lead to a escalation also. You cannot saying that Ariel is been saying like Ariel got a request saying that customer is looking for some kind of a modification. If Ariel, if you're making any kind of a modification, the server will be got rebooted, and your application maybe get kind of uh, outages also. So all leadership, all business people will tell, hey Ariel, what you have done? My server is not accessible. My application is got impacted. So you will get a lot of escalations. So the one point right now you need to remember in your mind, in case if you're making any kind of a modification, always downtime is required. Clear? Team, I hope we both are on the same page. Any kind of a confusion, let me know so we can have a discussion. Or if you're good, we can go move back. So we got few feedback. Two people it's told, okay, we're good. I hope I can continue, right? I know it's been almost at 3 hours, and I hope it's not disturbing. And because if you're attending a continuous 3 hour session and remotely, always it's been boring. It's because I also having, because me also used to attend a lot of training. So we have a similar kind of feeling like, hey, it's been 3 hours now. When this is going to conclude? So don't worry. It's another 30 minutes only. I'll take it and I'll conclude that. So in case uh, if you have any questions related to this topic, let me know. So tomorrow we'll be starting with a topic called um, DHCP. Yes, we'll be covering about DHCP version 4, and we'll be covering about DHCP version 6 also tomorrow. How to configure a DHCP on a Azure side, and we'll try it about in the on-premises also. We'll try to cover DHCP and DNS and the network topics tomorrow. Okay. Now, right now, these are the few terminologies currently we are using. Now, let's try to create a VM, and let's try to see how VM is being able to access. So that is the lab right now we are going to do. So now, couple of points right now we have been learned. We need a um, resizing part we have been considered. We have seen like how resizing can be done, right? Right now we have been seeing like it's in case if the user want to do any kind of resizing. Right now on the presentation, this was the tab I was discussing, because right now the resource group got deleted. That's the reason I was not in a position to connect you into the. Right now, if you can able to see on the screen, it's in the VM property. You may be seeing a tab called size, right? So if you're selecting here, right side, you'll be getting an option to make any kind of a modifications. Now, this is the another point you need to remember here. Basically, whenever you are creating a VM, we understood like in a cloud service scenarios, you have a working in a kind of a OPEX mode. What is meant by OPEX mode? It's something like uh, based on the consumption, we are paying the money to the cloud service providers, right? Now, I have two scenario here. Basically, in a cloud scenario, I'm taking you to the whiteboard right now. So just to explain how generally this has been working. So that maybe help you to understand how pricing is being done. Now, I have a configured a VM. Now, all of us know when you're configuring a VM, there is a lot of component is been involved here. So one of the component is involved, it's been a storage, right? Second, it's been involved compute also, right? Compute means that your CPU, RAM, all this kind of um, resources been considered under the compute category. Now I have a two scenario here, three scenario I can take you. So whenever you're it's been powered on a VM, or when you configured a VM, the cost is been calculated. It's been like a compute plus storage cost. That is a dollar, or that is the amount in a minute wise you are paying to Microsoft. Clear? So if you're used, for example, like Robin, if you created 10 minutes a VM and deleted, so I need to pay the amount for this 10 minutes. If you're reserving this one, you may be getting some discount from, for example, like if you're reserving a VM for 1 year, you may be getting some discount also from the Microsoft. Now I'm just giving a scenario. If I have a VM, it's been created. Now, how the cost has been calculated? It's been calculated with the help of a compute, and it's been calculated with the help of a storage also. Now, if I have used only 10 minutes, after 10 minutes, if I have deleted this VM, I need to pay only the amount for that 10 minutes. Now, I have another scenario. After 10 minutes, Lim was using this computer. So Lim, what he is done? He was from a developer background. After 10 minutes, he moved this computer into a shutdown mode. So if the VM is in a shutdown mode, there will not be any cost is been calculated for your compute, but Lim, you have having a storage cost will be calculated, because many times I used to get a kind of a concern saying that, hey, Robin, how I'm getting some extra charge from a Microsoft. I have configured a 10 VM, but all my VM was on a shutdown mode. Why Microsoft is been charging? So the reason is been very simple, because even though if your VM is on a shutdown mode, there will be a storage cost is been involved, because there is a dedicated storage is been allotted for you. So there will be some storage cost has been charging compute, even the compute resource been off, but the storage is been allowed. So the um, advice, or this the my experience, from my experience, my advice to you is that in case if you are not using any VM or any of the resource, In case if you're not using any resource on the infrastructure, make sure that you are deleting that one. You make sure that you are doing a housekeeping inside your data center or in your Azure infrastructure. Ensure that unwanted resource or a service deleted this one. But you need to remember one point, okay? You cannot delete and go and delete everything. For example, like you're from a cloud system administrator background and you're thinking like, hey, VPN I'm not using. Let's go and delete it. That's not the right practice because that VPN may be managed by another resource. That VPN may be not useful to you, but that may be used by another resource. So don't go and delete everything on the VM. So in case if you have configured anything and if you're feeling or if you're thinking or it's been coming, it's not going to use in the future, ensure that you've been cleared from the point. So end of this class, you need to understand there is a two cost is involved under the OPEX. One is a compute cost and another one is a storage cost also. If your data residing in storage, that will be Sandesh, that will be available for a couple of days. There is a retention period you have. In case if you're not upgraded your subscription, you will not be able to use it. Okay, thank you, team. So let's go and create a VM here. Now, right now we are in a customer place. For example, like we are working for a orange company and our client told Robin, you need to create a Windows Server operating system for me. And let's see how this can be created. Okay. Now you are the cloud administrator here today, and you need to guide me how to create this one because already you have had gone through a couple of discussions. Now, okay. Now these are the operating system options we have. Now Windows servers. So you have an operating system. It's been available for a Windows servers, and you have operating system available for OS also. Now let's go and create it here. So the point you need to remember in the Microsoft Azure side, it's been supported Windows and it's been supported other Unix servers also. And this has been supported only the 64-bit operating system only. Now let's go and create it here. Okay. Now let's go back to the VM. I'm going to create it. Now the first point you need to remember, always we need to ensure that when we are creating any VM for a billing, we need to create a billing options here per unit to create it here. So you can able to create an option here. I'm saying that, hey, my billing is going to do in a Visual Studio. Now how I'm going to organize, I'm saying that this has been organized in the resource group called finance. Now always we need to give some beautiful or a standard name. For example, like I'm going to use this in a development background and East 2 years. So I'm just giving like East, I'm just giving a name like ES EUS, so I can able to identify where this been configured. This I'm going to use it as web servers. I have only one web server, so I given a name. So if someone is seeing this one, I hope you will be able to identify at least, oh, this is a development background and this is 2 years and this is the servers you've been using. Now rest all availability set and availability is on. Right now I'm skipping this one. Right now we have been selected Windows Server 2019 data center here. Right now you can able to see there is a username and password options you are getting that I'll tell you where you are going to use this one. Right now I'm just giving a username and password. So this username and password going and creating inside your operating system is a point you need to remember. This username and password, whatever account you are saying that we are creating a development servers and the password or the admin account is going to be DRG admin and with the password XYZ. So password is I given a wrong password because 2 times I need to confirm. Yeah, I given right password. Saying that whenever if you want to connect a remote desktop to this machine, this is the username you need to use it and this is the password you have to use it. Clear? Let's see how this has been practically this has been coming. Don't worry. And right now you can able to see there is some inbound port also you are able to see. Possible tomorrow's session I'll explain you why we need to select this one. There is a concept called by default all incoming ports are been blocked here. Now on the top of this server we are going to install the DHCP tomorrow. Okay, DHCP and DNS, we are going to configure it in top of this. Now disk. Now if you go to the next tab, there you can on top you can able to see an option called disk. Right now you are able to see there are three type of disk technologies been supported here. Now one is a premium, you have a standard, and you have a standard HDD. So it's based on where we are able to um, use it. Like it's called premium or a standard or HDD. It's based on the scenario or where you're going to use, or you can able to select it here. Now premium is the generally we are using, like in case the any mission critical application, if you want to host it, generally that's been configured under a premium SSD. And whenever you're going for a standard SSD, wherever if you want any kind of a um, backup or a log or that kind of archive you want to configure, that generally it's been configured. So right now I'm selecting it's a premium one, and the bottom one you are able to select how this uh, disk to be added. For example, like if you have any additional data disk to be added, for example, like I was saying, like by default, there is an OS drive and one temporary storage is been created. Now, if the customer is coming and saying like, hey, Robin, I need an additional data disk for my Oracle database, or I need an additional data disk for my HR applications, then I can able to add additional lens here. So I have two options here. I can able to create a new hard disk, or I have an option to add existing hard disk also. Now, Manjula, I point like how to add an unmanaged disk. Possible on the dev to tomorrow. I'll have a session on a storage account part on the file and sorry, the last day. So that time I'll be able to I'll be discussing a managed disk and unmanaged disk. So that time I'll be covering that topic. Okay. Right now I'm moving that question into the bucket. Now, Sandesh, you have any question on a concept called maintenance mode? There is a different concept we are using that called availability set and availability zone and region pair. So with the help of that, in case if the server is in a kind of a maintenance mode, or if there is some outage has been happening, that you can able to configure it. One second. So okay, so PPT will be sharing that. It's in the PDF format. Will be sharing from us. So we'll be sharing that. Okay, all the PPT will be uploaded. So Surag will be doing impossible end of the day. So we are working on that. Okay, and we'll try to give you some ebooks or a handout which has been helping you to do a further self-study. We'll try to give you that information also on that. Last day I told I loved it, but yesterday I couldn't do that. I'll ensure that this will be sharing today itself. Thank you. And Sandesh, answering to your question, yes, the concept generally we are using the called VM. If you want, you can just note down that's called VM availability set or availability zone. You may be seen, Sandesh, this option here. So when you select a basic option, there is an option called availability option. Sandesh, if you can just look it in here, so you can able to see there is an option here. So this is a method generally we are using. At the VM level, we have a VM availability zone, availability set. Generally, we are using. In case in the regional level, there is some issues happening in some particular geography. There is a concept called regional pairing also. By default, there is a concept called region pairing. Each regions are paired with another data center on the backend. So there is a concept called region pairing. So in case if there is something going wrong also, we can able to recover it, and we'll ensure that there is availability or it's been provided to your application and it's been avoided to this one. So that's about the VM part. Now let's go back and create this one. Right now there is no disk it's been configured here. Network is been by default. We have an option to create a new network here, or you have an option it's been default configuration also. Right now, I'm not touching anything on the IP addressing or a subnet or it's in the networking portion here. That will be discussed in the later point. Right now, all this tab, I'm just skipping. In the tab tag, if you want, you can give some information also, like this computer, this HR database server. So this for your identification. If you want, you can able to put some tagging here. So it's been easy able to be able to identify who is been using this one and who is the application owner. If you want, you can able to put some server owner name also on the tagging. So in case something is going wrong of tomorrow, it's been there is some kind of a modification if you want to do. And if you want to know who is the owner for this, you can tell owner is this for it's been like lim is the owner for this server. So HR database server owner is lim, and you can able to put some email ID or whatever you want, you can able to put it there. So it's been owner is lim. So you can able to identify who is been managing this. It's been tomorrow if you want to do any kind of outage or a modification on the server, it's been easy for you to identify who own the servers rather than checking the Excel file or a service now or a ticketing or a history. It's easy for you to track it who has been owning this. Right now, we are deploying a servers here. Right on the screen, you may be able to see a summary, what is the cost is been involved, and with the help of that, it's been deployed. Right now, this been deployed. Once the deployment is over, tomorrow we'll start with how to access this one. First, 15 minutes we'll spend time on that. On after that, we'll be moving to a topic called DHCP, and we'll cover it another topic called DNS and IP address management also. That's the plan for tomorrow's sessions. Now, right now the deployment is being started here. Okay, so now deployment is in progress here. Now you can able to see the deployment it's been started, so we can just wait. So deployment is being completed right now here. So you can able to see here the virtual machine is being got installed here. So this is the way the VM is being managed here. Now tomorrow, so we'll be starting with the DHCP. That's called how this has been configured on the Microsoft side. How this has been configured on the DHCPs can be configured on a on-premises one, and how is there any difference on the uh, cloud or Azure side? We'll be covering that. So we are on time today, and so if you have any questions, let me know. So any questions from? So we're just posting for a open forum on the question. So if you have any questions on the topic which we have covered. Thank you. So thank you, team. So tomorrow we'll be starting on the same time. Surag, you want to add anything, any points?
No, we good, I think.
Okay, can you how to connect? Yes, we'll be connecting from us how to connect to the VM. We'll be discussing that point tomorrow once the DHCP has been cleared, because I have some points on the IP address and public IP address and private IP address. Then that time we'll be showing you how to connect it from internal. We'll be discussing about the external, and we'll be discussing about how to connect from on premises also. And I'll try to cover some concept about the DHCP also. We'll try to give you some insight about NSGs here, like how network security group is being created and in which level it is being configured and the need of NSG also. Possible tomorrow I can spend some time on that. Sure. Sorry, Surak, I take your time. Sorry. So thank you, team. Wish you a happy day afternoon. And PPT will be uploaded on the portal, and I'll try to get some documents also for you. And tomorrow we'll be starting on the same time. We'll ensure that we'll be covering the DHCP and DNS in the tomorrow sessions. So thank you, team. Have a great day. So we are stopping the recording, and see you in the morning. Thank you all.